This morning, I invite you to join with me in thinking about the fascinating topic of doors and gates. And most especially, how important it is to choose the right one. Dick and I were reminiscing last night about a time when we were in an airport. Julie needed to go to the restroom, as did Dick. She took a left turn, and then a little ways further down, Dick took the second left, assuming it was the door to the men's room. But when he left the stall, to his utter amazement, there, standing at the sinks, was a bevy of women. Plus Julie. No one screamed, but Julie piped up and announced, "That's my dad." It is important to choose the right door. Ask my brother-in-law, Russell. He was in Paris, touring the Louvre, in fact, and was trying desperately to find the Mona Lisa. But alas, in his search, he pushed open the wrong door. Off went the alarms, and off went Russell. Don't ask him what happened next, because he ran faster than the speed of light and has no way of knowing anything about what ensued. It is important to choose the right door. Has anyone here ever seen the movie This Is Spinal Tap? Okay, it's a comedy, you can tell. Over here? No one? You have seen This Is Spinal Tap. All right. It's a story about the life of a fictitious rock band. And about halfway through the film, the band is getting ready to go on stage at an arena in Cleveland, Ohio. They are totally psyched. They're wearing their spandex, and they are pumping their fists in the air, chanting, "Hello, Cleveland!" And they try to make their way to the stage. But somehow, they get lost en route. They keep turning corners, hoping that they found the right door, only to discover instead that they've hit a dead end. This happens again and again until finally they meet up with a maintenance worker who says, "You go right through this door, turn the hall, turn right, go about 30 feet, turn left, then go straight ahead, turn right at the next two corners, and you will see a sign that says, 'Authorized people only.' Open that door, and you will be right at the stage." So off they go, trying to follow the directions, only to discover they are right back where they started. Sometimes we in our own lives find ourselves lost, desperately trying to find the right door, but it's elusive. We don't know where it is. Yet everywhere we turn, we are surrounded by doors and gates too. So this morning, I'd like to ask you if you've ever given serious thought to the purpose of a door or a gate. Essentially, there are two. One purpose of a door is to keep things or people out. Gates are a means of providing security and protecting privacy. They prevent intrusion. Who wants the neighbor's dog to paw through their kitchen wastebasket? That's what a door is for. But the second purpose of a gate is the antithesis of that, and that is that gates also serve to release us, to set us free by opening the way, opening the door to new territory. Well, Jesus in today's scripture tells us that he is the gate. Notice he doesn't say that he is like a gate, no simile there, or even that he is a gate. Jesus says he is the gate, a living and talking gate. What does that mean? To answer that question, we need to look at the context. John 10 is referencing a Middle Eastern sheepfold. A sheepfold is a walled enclosure designed to confine sheep, or as we would say, a sheepfold is a pen. It had no roof or protection from the elements, but the walls were laced with thistles and briars and thorns to keep away intruders. There was only one point of entry in a sheepfold, and that was simply an opening in the wall. The only gate was the gatekeeper himself, who at night would protect the sheep by lying across the threshold. So consequently, the gate was never very wide. And it is in this context that Jesus says, I am the gate. His purpose in life was twofold. He served both as an entrance for protection and as an exit for liberation. He offered shelter on the one hand and liberation on the other, protection from the jackals, wildcats, and foxes of life, but also liberation for the purpose of experiencing life's deepest joy, the pasture lands. And after these many centuries, that's what Jesus still is for us today. No, as much as we would like this, he does not always shield us from cancer or prevent heart attacks or car accidents or tornadoes or unemployment or dementia. His purpose, quite simply, is to protect us from the power of evil, from the power of all evil. That's what the gate does. But the gate also serves as an exit, as the gateway to green pastures, to a fullness of life. And that he does by giving us the option of following in his way. And remember, that's not easy, because the gateway is narrow. In the Gospel of Matthew, the point is expounded. Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction, and there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life. One of my all-time favorite sermons is one that was recorded by my father's professor of homiletics at Union Theological Seminary in New York City. His name was Harry Emerson Fosdick. Dad bought the sermon on an LP. He put it on in our stereo, and I cannot tell you how many times as a child I'd sit on the rug and listen to that message. It was called On Catching the Wrong Bus. He begins the sermon by narrating the true story of a man who boarded a bus and had every intention of going to Detroit. But then, to his alarm, he discovered that he'd ended up in Kansas City. How did he get so far afield? It wasn't hard. He just wasn't paying attention. And then Fosdick remarks, things like that happen all the time. We start out with fine goals, nothing wrong with them at all, until we wake up to find that we've landed in a place we do not want to be. The prodigal son didn't start out wanting to work with swine. He had high ideals, fine desires. He wanted happiness and freedom. But the destination he reached did not depend on the legitimacy of the goals he chose. The gate before him was narrow, and he opted not to go through it. So what are the conditions? What does it take to go through the narrow gate? It involves using the gifts and applying the fruits of his Spirit. Exercising self-control. Practicing patience. Being kind to total strangers, and yes, even to relatives you'd rather not be related to. It's being generous with those who have less than you do. It's being gentle when you are frustrated and impatient. It is being faithful, ever faithful to your Creator, your Redeemer, your Sustainer. And if you can meet that criteria, then I dare say you will pass through the gateway. And then you yourself will experience Jesus as the gate. Jesus says, I am the gate through which you are to come. How many times have you attended weddings when the bride and groom embark on what they hope and expect will be a fairy tale come true, only to wake up one day to discover that happiness is not attained by ideals alone. Narrow is the gate. No one aspires to be an alcoholic or a drug addict, but how easily it can happen. Narrow is the gate. Jesus says, I am the gate through which you can come. And the pastures, the green pastures, those you will discover will be heaven on earth. Some of you remember Dan Erickson. Yesterday was his birthday, but it was also the day his father was birthed into heaven. And yesterday I discovered a quotation that Dan had sent while he was leading an Alpha course here at the church. And I thought that it was a perfect description of the pasture land where that gateway leads. And this is what it said, quote, after we begin to take service to Christ seriously, we become less and less interested in ourselves, our own little plans and designs. And we become more and more interested in seeing what we can contribute to life. As we do this, we feel new power flow into us. We enjoy peace of mind. We become conscious of his presence. And we lose fear. We lose fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. And then we are reborn. Jesus said, I am the gate. Walk through my gateway. And so it is that when we walk through his gate, we see him in us and in those around us. Thanks be to God. Amen.